Hey guys, this is Mrs. Trejo or Miss Rodriguez, whichever one you want to call me. This is a video going over Unit 4 tests. You need to watch this video and answer the questions that show up within this Edpuzzle, and then following it, if you make the appropriate grade, then you can actually take the retest and hopefully bump up your Unit 4 test grade and therefore helping your average. Anyway, so here we go. Let's get started. I'm only going over 4 questions this time instead of my usual 5. We're going to start with question number 2 on the test. It says the function f of x and g of x represent a system of equations. The function f of x is graphed below. The function g of x is represented by g of x equals negative 3x plus 5. What is the solution to this system of equations? So since one of the equations is already graphed for you, we just have to graph the second one. So we have g of x equals negative 3x plus 5, okay? This is stuff we've gone over for a while now. This is in slope-intercept form. This negative 3, that is your slope, okay? And remember, it's also known as your m. It's negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and turn this into a fraction. It'll help us here in a second when we get to graphing. So it's negative 3 over 1, which tells me that I will go down 3 and to the right 1 when it comes to moving around, okay? So there's my slope. And then my starting point is going to be my y-intercept. And that's my positive 5. Positive 5 is my y-intercept, if I can spell. Okay, so let's start with this positive 5. I'm going to go over here to my graph, and I'm going to go up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my first point. According to my slope that we just figured out, we're going to go down 3 and to the right 1. So 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. 1, 2, 3 to the right 1. I'm going to keep going. 1, 2, 3 and to the right 1. Then, if you have a ruler or maybe you have your ID handy on you, you're going to take a straight edge of some sort, and even if you don't, just be super careful, and you're going to connect the dots. Okay, so we graphed the second equation. Our first equation is already graphed, and now I have to figure out what is the solution to this system of equations. Well, to find the solution, given these two equations, it's where the two lines touch, or where the two lines intersect. As you can see, we actually plotted a point where those two lines intersect. So now we just have to figure out what that point is. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So if we're going 3 to the right in the x direction and 4 down, so it's in the negative direction for the y, 3, negative 4 is going to be your answer, and that was J. Okay, here's number 10. Number 10 says, a bag contains 29 coins consisting of quarters and nickels. The total value of the coins is $2.85. Which system of equations can be used to determine the number of quarters, Q, and the number of nickels, in the bag? So this one's a word problem, as you can see. And I highly suggest you reading the word problem at least 3 times, The first time is just to read it, figure out what it is that it's talking about. The second time you go through is whenever you start to annotate, and by the third time you can start taking out those annotations and turning them into equations. So we read it once. Here's our second time. So a bag contains 29 coins, I'm going to circle important numbers, consisting of quarters and nickels. Okay, I know that these are going to be important because based off my question that I underlined, it has it for you. Quarters are Q, nickels are in. So I'm going to put this in brackets and put the letter above it. The part I put in brackets is telling me that is going to be my variables. This is how I'm annotating. If you annotate differently, that's totally fine. This is how I suggest annotating. Okay, the total value of the coins is $2.85. I'm going to put a square around important math words that actually translate into math symbols. So total actually translates to plus, or adding. It's a plus sign. The word is actually translates to equals. And then $2.85, that's super important. Okay, and then underline the question that's asking, and remember to always go back and refer to that question to make sure you're answering it correctly. So which system of equations can be used to determine the number of quarters Q and the number of nickels in the bag? Okay, so I read it twice. Here's my third time. I'm going to start taking out all of those annotations and I can start writing an equation. So a bag contains 29 coins. Okay, so whatever bag we have, we know it's going to equal 29 coins. Well, what kind of coins do we have? Quarters and nickels. And if we're trying to figure out the total that we know we have a total of 29 coins. So I'm going to add quarters and nickels together to get my 29 coins. There's my first equation. Second equation, the total, so we're adding, value of the coins is $2.85. Okay, again, we know we're adding quarters and nickels together to get to this total. But it's asking for the value. Well, the value of a quarter is 25 cents, or 0.25. And the value of a nickel is 0.05, or 5 cents. Okay, so which system of equations can be used? Well, it's just asking for a system of equations. It's not actually asking you to solve it. So here are my equations, and I'm going to look through my answer choices to see which ones match, and it's G. Even though my equations flipped and my variables flipped, that's okay. As long as my variables line up with each other and both equations are there, this is an acceptable answer. So G is the answer to number 10. Okay, next one I want to go over is number 12. It's another word problem. It says, a manager purchased a total of 21 coffee mugs and keychains. Each coffee mug cost $8.50 and each keychain cost $2.75. If the manager spent a total of $132.50, how many coffee mugs did the manager purchase? Okay, I'm going to go through and annotate again. That was my first time through and I read it. Second time I'm annotating. So a manager purchased a total, we just talked about it, means adding, of 21. 21's important. Coffee mugs, I'm going to replace with the letter M. And keychains, I'm going to replace with the letter K. Each coffee mug, so talking about coffee mug again, costs $8.50. And each keychain costs $2.75. Important number circling. If the manager spent a total, remember means adding, of $132.50, how many coffee mugs did the manager purchase? Okay, third time through, I'm going to start writing my system of equations. Okay, so purchased a total of 21. So whatever happens, we have a total of 21 items. Okay, total means I'm adding, well, the two items I'm adding together are my coffee mugs and my keychains. Okay, so there's my first equation. Second equation, each coffee mug costs $8.50. So $8.50 for a coffee mug, and it's $2.75 for a keychain. Okay, they spent a total, which means I'm adding those two things together. And it adds up to $132.50. Here's my system of equations. Now, how many coffee mugs did the manager purchase? Great, okay. So there's a third time through. Now I can actually start to solve this because the question is actually wanting me to get some kind of number. If you notice, I have variable, variable equals some whole number. Variable, variable equals some whole number. Because of that, it is written in, both of these are written in standard form, because remember, standard form is AX plus by equals c. Variable equals whole number. Okay, if both of these are written in standard form, the easiest way to solve this is using a matrix. So let's go ahead and plug this into a matrix. Okay, I'm going to focus on just this side first. I'm going to take all my coefficients or all my numbers. If you don't see a number in front of the variable or in front of your letter, remember it's a 1. So I have 1, 1, 8.50, and then I have 2.75. I'm going to do the little inverse, and then my next one is going to now be what's on the right side of the equal sign, which is 21 and 132.50. Okay, if you're still struggling putting this into a matrix, I'm going to show you a trick real quick. Okay, so remember we have m plus k equals 21, and we had 8.50 m plus 2.75 k equals 132.50. Okay, this is what we have. Fill in those numbers. So we have 1s as my coefficients, and all you're doing to get a matrix is you are erasing the variables. So erase, 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 erase. Get rid of the variables, put some brackets around it. Erase the equal signs, replace it with that -1, that inverse. And then put some brackets around the last numbers, and look at that. You have your matrix set up, ready to go to stick in your calculator. Okay, just a quick trick. Anyway, so now that I have written on paper, it's easier to put in my calculator because I know what it should look like. So, to get your matrix, alpha, zoom, focusing on this one first. I have 2 rows, 2 columns, so I need a 2 by 2 and push OK. I have 1, 1, 8.50, 2.75. Okay, and then go on the outside, push the inverse button, it's right underneath math. And then I need another matrix, so alpha zoom. This time I have 2 rows and 1 column, so 2 rows, 1 column, okay. And then it's 21, and then 132.50. Push enter, I get 13 and 8. I get 13 and 8. Now, since my m's came first, my top number is my m, and the k's came second, so my bottom number is the k, which is mugs and keychains. Okay, but the question is specifically asking about your mugs. Well, how many mugs did the manager purchase? The manager purchased 13 mugs. This is your final answer. Notice how I wrote it in a sentence because I went back and answered the question. Okay, you can't just say it's 13, 8. You can't tell me it's 8. You have to tell me that he purchased 13. That's the final answer for question 12. Okay, last question. Last question, we have number 13. This one was tricky, so watch carefully. The graphs of the lines K1 and K2 are shown on the grid. Which system of equations is best represented by this graph? Well, by looking at a graph, you know already that your answer is going to lie somewhere right here, right? Because it's where they intersect. And you also know, because we've covered this, how to write an equation based off a line. However, when you do that, the way we've taught you, you get it in slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. If you look at your answer choices, all of your answer choices are written in standard form, ax plus by equals c. Now you could take each of these and convert them into slope-intercept form, but I feel like that's a little tricky, and I know that you guys have struggled a little bit with that. So I'm going to show you what I feel like is an easier way to get through it. And I'm going to use matrices. I love matrices. I think they're a lot easier than solving equations. So I'm going to kind of guesstimate we're going to start with guesstimating what this point is. And if you notice, it's not exactly crossing the grid lines perfectly. So again, that's why we're kind of guesstimating. And in the x direction, it's about, oh goodness, it's a little blurry. Yeah, okay. In the x direction is about 1.75, roughly speaking. Okay, and in the y direction, it is roughly 3.1. So I'm going to say that's my answer. I'm going to go through and I'm going to create a matrix for each of these, and I'm going to see what answers I get and see which one matches closest to this point. So for A, my matrix is going to be 3, -1, 4, 9. Do my inverse, and then I have 2 and 36. Okay, I can go and I can plug this into the calculator. So alpha zoom, I have a 2 by 2, and I have 3, -1, 4, 9, inverse, alpha zoom, 2, 1 column, okay, I have 2, 36, enter. I get about 1.74. 3.2. Well, that is pretty dang close to what I have here. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that my answer is A. But in case it was not close, you need to go through B, C, and D. For sake of time, I'm not going to do the rest of them, but you do need to go through B, C, and D and see what answers you come up with. See what answers you come up with and see how close they were, and the closest ones to that point would be your answer. And I'm telling you right now, it's A. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Hopefully you got the grade that you needed and you're able to go take that retest. If you did get the grade, make sure you talk to your teacher and see what it is you need to do next in order to do that retest. Okay, good luck.